Welcome to Death by PowerPoint. I'm going to be your PowerPoint presenter. My name is Ian Trimble. Here we go. This is a dangerous place. Be careful. Police line, do not cross, right? Once you watch this presentation, your presentations will never be the same again. Love this quote. PowerPoint doesn't kill meetings. People kill meetings. But using PowerPoint is like having a loaded AK-47 on the table. You can do very bad things with it. That is from Peter Norvig of Google. Approximately 350 PowerPoint presentations are given every second around the world. That's an astonishing figure. But guess what? 99% of them suck. It's not PowerPoint. PowerPoint is not the problem. It's you. You're doing it wrong. That's right. 91%. Huge number. Love this slide. And it's so true, right? We've all been through this. I've lost hours of my life, days of my life, right? Look at this wonderful cartoon from Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. I could have emailed you my PowerPoint deck and you could have read it in 5 minutes. But I prefer making you sit here for an hour while I read each bullet point in slow motion. Point number 1. Right? So, and then you see the guy on the right, he's asking his coworker to choke him with the tie. So, we got a couple things here to break down. And these are important things, right? If you are going to just read the presentation verbatim, why even have a meeting about it, right? Just send them the PowerPoint. Your audience can read it whenever they want at their own time, rather than going through every single bullet point in slow motion, right? Well, this presentation is to teach you to not do that. So hopefully you've already learned something. So I love this graph. This is kind of the story narrative, right? Your whole point of this presentation or story, as I like to call them, is you're saying, what is right now? What could be the future? Going back to current, what is? Future, what it could be, right? And this is going to be your arc, your graph, your timeline, right? What is, current mission statement, current facts, and what's your goal? What could be? And then this becomes the new bliss, or your new norm, right? Important slide, right? We've got so much information. So you want to know your presentation, because guess what? Most people forget what you say a couple of minutes after it was said. So again, your goal of these presentations is to not have your audience forget. Why? Because we've got information overload. We are all guilty of this. I'm recording this in the year 2020. We are drowning in information all day, all night. It's on our screens, it's on our phones, it's on billboards, it's everywhere, right? We've got information overload, and you're asking me to remember one more thing from your presentation? I don't think so, bruh. Like, we got to keep it simple. Keep your PowerPoint simple. I like telling stories through the visual medium. That's how I learn, is through visual. So when I see tons of words, graphs, right? It gets complicated. I like to keep things simple, right? How do I do that? I think about, 10 slides. It just depends, but, 10 things, 10 ideas I can keep track of at one time. So, again, the number 10, super important here. 10 slides, easy, even number. Don't kill them. Don't drown them. Don't drown your audience, right? With all these slides. 10 is a pretty good number. Now, what are you going to do to be successful? Well, there are 3 factors in a successful presentation. And I just love this graphic, right? Again, I like to illustrate my facts and have the image to back it up. Your image is supposed to support your presentation, right? And look at these colors, right? Simple, not so much text on the screen, but 3 factors are going to make your presentation stand out. 3 factors that you need to care about. Number 1, what is the purpose of your presentation, right? What is the outcome? What is the call to action? What is the story? Like, why are you even making this presentation? Well, the purpose of this presentation is to teach you to not kill your audience, right? Don't have them experience death by PowerPoint. So, slides without purpose, you just get a mess, right? You walk out the meeting saying, what did I just see? What else is important? Well, your audience. Your audience is super important. Who are you presenting to? What are their motivations? Why are they relevant? Are you speaking to your audience? Are you speaking above your audience, below your audience? You want to know your audience. Right? Look at this slide. Like, this is a wonderful, wonderful picture. Great graphic. This person knows their audience. Look at this. You've got what? You got four people. This person is just enjoying. Looks like they're enjoying their day, reading a book, baking in some rays. Maybe it's some type of performance art, but you want to know your audience, right? And also know your style, right? When you're talking about presentations, your style is super important, and this is where your PowerPoint can actually enhance your story, right? Enhance the purpose of what you're trying to get done. How do we use style in PowerPoints? Well, it's pretty simple, pretty basic. You can use bolding and color for emphasis, right? If something is important, how do you make it stand out? You make it bold, or you can make it add some color in there. A great quote is from Steve Jobs, right? People who know what they're talking about don't need PowerPoint. You're saying to myself, well, this is a PowerPoint. What does Ian know what he's talking about? Yes, I know what I'm talking about. Steve Jobs does make a great point, and he's just saying that, hey, you should be able to communicate your entire ideas through words alone, possibly, email, writing, but PowerPoint should, not be used as the teaching mechanism. People are there to learn from you, not from your deck. So I think that's kind of what he means here. And I agree with it, right? I've been to classes or lectures where the entire lesson is the deck. And I don't go to class to watch the deck. I go to class to learn from experience, to learn from the professor, the guest lecturer, the keynote speaker, and rarely do I ever learn from their slides, right? So again, your PowerPoint deck is to support, but not to, be all inclusive. Remember, don't kill your audience. Again, look, great graphic. Um, you got a guy, I'm guessing he's just relaxing, right? He's laying down. Again, he's just soaking up those rays, right? And again, look here, I'm using very simple black and white imagery. I like black and white images because they are timeless. There's very little color here, and the color that is here, stands out. What else? You want to be comfortable, right? You look at this right here, not a care in the world. Comfort is good. You want to know your material. And I like this graphic again. She just looks comfortable. The dogs look comfortable. Everyone is relaxed and having a good time. And that's the kind of vibe you can get if your message is delivering. So be comfortable. What else? If it's something that you care about, show your passion. When I was in London, I got a chance to see some footballers, and these were some really great fans. Now, this one looks like this was in, Russia or Ukraine, but sports fans really show their passion. You see people wearing face paint, full garb, full costumes, right? So if it's a topic that you care about, show your audience that you care about it. It'll come through. They know when you're serious. And again, it'll help your message stick. People love a high energy person. They don't want to hear low energy, right? They want you to care about what you're talking about. So if you're talking about building houses, right? Show your passion for building houses. If you're talking about accounting, if this was a slide about accounting, show your passion. It really cares. It really keeps your audience engaged. Again, simple graphic, not too distracting, very sparse verbiage. Again, the focus is what? Show your passion. Next is when you're working on your decks, and you're working with images, quality matters, right? Bigger images are better. You want to match your colors, your styles. You want to align carefully. PowerPoint or Keynote these days, they have great tools where you can align your images very easily. And again, they've got some great new features that will help you in your decks to work with images. But one thing for sure is you don't want to use small images that when they blow up they look pixelated. No one wants to see that. We are living in a world of HD, right? 4K is the new standard. 8K is coming soon. So there's no reason why your slides can't also include high-res images, right? If you're using a thumbnail that you found off Google, don't use it. Change your search settings. Look for, 1080p at the minimum. 4K is better, or anything high-res. That way you can always scale it down. You can't always scale up, but you can always scale down and retain that quality. So super important thing to remember when you're working with your images. What else can we do? Well, there are a couple simple design rules, and this is for design in general. I'm a big fan of architecture, of layout, print layout, graphic design, and there are simple design rules that appeal to humans. You know good design when you see it, and you know bad design when you see it. So take a look at the left and take a look at the right. On the left, I would consider this a bad slide, right? That's my own personal bias, my own aesthetic. It does not appeal to me. Um, Both are trying to convey the same idea. The slide on the left does it with charts, numbers, text, right? You got different size text, um, different colors. Now, that's all fine. I am not anti-chart. I'm not anti-graph. They are useful, but I am more of a visual person. So if you look at the left and you look at the right, look at the right. Again, same idea. Heart disease is the cause of death in 1 in 3 women in the United States. What do they do here? Well, they kept it simple. They looked at design, right? Everyone is wearing red. When you think of heart disease or the American Heart Association, red is their color. So they actually thought about this. Everything is red, nice font space, nice white space. Again, both ideas are the same. One tells it through text, and one tells it through images and less text. So I'm a big fan of the slide on the right. Now, again, you may not be in the position where you can keep it simple, but there's a nice mixture, or there's a way where you can combine both, graphics and text, but also make a nice clean slide. But one thing that I try to stick to is having 1 point per slide. What does that mean? Well, you want to have one idea per slide, right? Again, I talked about the information overload. It's hard to remember, all this information when the presentation's out. And if you can keep it 1 point per slide, your audience has a better time of keeping up and not being a victim of information overload. So, what do? You want to be a merciless editor. You want to cut. I can't emphasize this enough. Drill down, distill to the most important parts, right? What do you want your audience to walk away from, right? So if you've noticed this presentation, I'm actually following the 1 point per slide, not combining all these ideas. And this slide deck, I think it was about 100 slides, and I just cut it, right? If you can drill it down. This way you can move fast, and your slide is, your deck is moving, it's flowing. What else can we do? You want to have a bad deck has, few matching colors, right? I'm going to give you an example of that. Look at this slide here. This is the slide that I would have given when I was in high school, when PowerPoint was new. The idea was bullet points. And this slide, it's out of theme with the rest of the deck. You're saying, whoa, this is an eyesore, and I agree with you. So if you're making your slide, you want to keep the theme of it to be consistent. Why people are attracted to certain colors and themes, right? And when you go off script or you go off base, it stands out, and it doesn't stand out for the right reasons. You want to also use photos and not clip art. There's a wealth of photos these days. There's no excuse to use clip art anymore. And again, I am talking about where this is appropriate, right? If you need to use clip art for something, I'm not saying don't use it, but I'm saying, personally, I love to use photos because, like I said, a picture tells 1,000 words, and photos I find are easier to convey your message. What else is important to your message? Well, that is your content. Content is king. You want to have content that actually matters, right? You want to be cognizant, be mindful of what's actually in your slides. You want to know your slides. You should be able to speak to your slides and not just read from your slides. People aren't there to see you read the deck. Like we said before, if that's going to be the case, you can just email them the deck and they can read it at their own time. So know your slides. This one's super important to me. Don't use crappy fonts, right? If we looked at that other slide before with that hideous background, those were, 4 fonts, not easy on the eyes. There are fonts that people like to use, and use them poorly. Tahoma, Microsoft Sans Serif, Arial, Verdana, Carrier New, Times New Roman, Trebuchet, Lucida, Comic Sans are all crappy fonts, right? So spare your audience. Don't there are plenty of good fonts out there. Google what is easy on the eyes, what actually is not distracting. Also practice good white space, right? And by this I mean don't don't crowd your slides. Like, make use of spacing. There are rules out there, like the rules of 3, where you have a grid and you want to have your ideas in grids, like left section, middle section, right section, top, middle, bottom, right? Make good use of white space. If you crowd everything, people get distracted and your intended message might get lost. What else? Oh, this is a huge pet peeve right here. Avoid too many spreadsheets. I've seen so many spreadsheets in so many presentations, and after a while they kind of all blend the same, right? Only use charts when necessary. Super important. Again, same thing with spreadsheets. These things tend to, it's like, I call it filler. It's like when you have a Christmas stocking and you need to add something real fast. And when it comes to PowerPoint, you add spreadsheets and you add charts. But remember, these things aren't always a story. You can always tell a story, through a different visual mean. These are safe, but I think, if you can tell it with the graphic, tell it with the graphic or a picture. This is really important. You want to spend time rehearsing. And again, and again, and again. So, again, great picture. If you can rehearse it, rehearse it. Rehearse it anywhere. You can see this lady is rehearsing outside. Maybe she's a dancer. Maybe she's reciting. She's getting ready for ballet. But you know what she's doing? She's rehearsing. And it's the same thing when it comes to your presentation deck. An outstanding 1-hour presentation can take 30 hours or more of prep time. Like, this deck took a lot of time, lots of practice, lots of distilling it down, and again, lots of time finding quality images. Now, if you really need notes, use the presenter view. If you're going to be sharing this presentation, the presenter view is your presenter's cheat sheet, right? It'll keep you on track, help you remember what those points are. And again, it's a supplement. You should not just be reading verbatim off of this presenter view. Remember, know your slides, know your idea, know what you're trying to get across. What else can you do to be a great presenter and not kill your audience? You want to move around. Look at this. Great image, right? He's moving around. Again, black and white theme. Your audience knows when you are engaged. You can move around the room. Now, I'm recording this during COVID, so things are a little different. Oftentimes, you might be in a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting and your speaker, might be stationary. But when this goes away and life gets back to normal, what I like to do is I like to move around when I'm giving my presentations, right? Your audience will follow you around the room. Now, you don't want to go all crazy, right? But you do want to, move around. Again, why? It keeps them interested in you. Like I said, your slides are secondary. They are there to hear you. Next, use bullet points sparingly. A great slide, right? This looks like someone shot up this wonderful building. Makes me laugh each time I give this presentation. But again, bullet point. Use this sparingly. Try to keep it to one idea per slide. Okay. Next one is to remember. Power corrupts. PowerPoint corrupts absolutely. Edward Tufte, who was a Yale professor. I like this slide. I've been witness to this. So many bad PowerPoints out there. So many bad decks that go on and on and on. There are lots of different tools out there, right? There is PowerPoint, but don't sleep on Apple Keynote. I think I made this deck with Apple Keynote. Great tools. If you're an Apple user, it is free, which is wonderful, and you can export it out to PowerPoint. There's another tool out there called Prezi, and I've got some great Prezis out there. Prezi is like PowerPoint, except it's more visual. It's like you can zoom in and out. It's got great features. Really cool stories out there, and they aren't called presentations, they're called Prezis. And take a look at Prezi.com. You'll find great ideas. There is a slight learning curve, but it's not that difficult once you get the hang of it. There's also a new entry in this town called Powtoon, and Powtoon is this animated way to tell your story using different characters. It's almost like making your own voiceover cartoon. Super handy, Again, it's something different. So maybe if you're in this creative space and you've got room to experiment, Powtoon might be up your alley. I've used it. I've gotten pretty good results with it. Next thing you might be asking me is like, okay, where do you get all these images you keep harping on about? Where do you get all these photos? Well, iStock is wonderful. They've got great plans, not too expensive. You've got Shutterstock, and you've got Flickr. And what you want to do is search for images that are Creative Commons or images labeled for reuse. There are free images. There are also paid images out there. But if you're looking for images to tell your story, 3 great resources. I also recommend a couple books that have helped me become better at making presentations. One is The Naked Presenter. Gar Reynolds is a king in this space. Nancy Duarte, Slideology. She's really great. There's also one called Presentation Secrets. And I believe this is based off of Steve Jobs style presentations. He was famous for several presentations that people walked away remembering. So let's recap. Mistakes to avoid: ugly slides, low quality slides, too much info on your slides, lack of preparation. This really comes through. Your audience knows if you are prepared or if you're winging it. Not enough visuals. And remember, spare your audience, right? We don't want to kill them. We want them to walk away with something that they didn't know before, right? Some type of call to action, something, So I want you to, join me on this next slide. So, what are we going to do? I promise to never kill anyone with my presentation again. Have you signed it yet? All right. Thank you very much. And great, great place to look at more slides is TED Talks. And there is a ton of useful information out there. So